Hello everyone and welcome to this session on CodeVita previous year's questions. We are going to take up one question that had come in season 8, that is in 2019, and we're going to solve that question. I'm actually going to divide it into 2-3 parts. I'm going to take one approach and then see how that leads us, and divide that approach into multiple parts, and then we'll probably actually look at the actual solution in code also, and I'll show you how you also can practice it on the Edist platform. So the question that I'm going to pick up is a question that has come up in season 8, which happened in 2019, which was last year, which is called digit pairs. So I'm going to pick up this question here called CodeVita season 8 digit pairs. And before I actually go ahead and solve this particular question, I just wanted to give you a little bit of detail. So number one is, if you want to practice this, you can actually go to the Edist platform and keep practicing this question. So this question is in bit.ly/edist-codevita9, and the link is also in the description below. You can go here and you can actually practice this particular question because we have given it as a free question in the free modules. So let me just show you that question on the Edist platform on how you can access it. So if you go to the Edist platform, this is what you'll get. That is, if you go to the link that's provided to you, this is the link that you'll get. Click this try one free module. You will get this is all of the details of the upcoming CodeVita round. So you can go ahead and read about all of that. Also, one big suggestion is that if you have not yet, then please register on Campus Commune as soon as possible. Excuse me. So you can register on Campus Commune as soon as possible for CodeVita, otherwise the deadline will go away. Anyways, when you try one free module now, when you click that, you will be put into the CodeVita course. And so one second, this is the course that you're going to get. That is the CodeVita 2020 course. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So this is the CodeVita 2020 course that you'll get, and this one module is available for free to you. Obviously the other modules are paid. I have already paid and unlocked them. You can too, and a lot of other students have already done that as well. The question I'm going to discuss is over here in bonus season 8 digit pairs question. This is the question I'm going to pick up. So this is CodeVita 2019 digit pairs question. That's the question I'm going to be picking up right now, right? Okay. So let's first read the question, understand the question. And so before I read the question, just again want to tell you that we have about 100 previous years questions from all over the CodeVita seasons. We've analyzed them, we've divided them into different topics and modules, and some of them are easy, some of them are difficult. If you have not yet started your CodeVita preparation, it's the best time to start with the easy modules and then slowly make your way up to the difficult modules. Right, so now we'll get to the actual question, and so let me just open up the question. And this is actually a very typical CodeVita question, typical first round or second round question, like there's 6 questions in CodeVita that you're going to get, of which the first and second question are typically easy, but they're very long typically. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you just look at the question description itself, right? So the question description is going and going and going and going, and it's still not ended, right? It finally ends over here, right? It's still not ended actually. It finally ends here after all of the explanation and all of that. It ends over here. So what this means is, CodeVita does like to give certain lengthy questions sometimes, and they're lengthy not because they're difficult, but because instead of just giving you one question or one concept, CodeVita likes to mix multiple concepts together and bring them together into one question. So really the first or the second question that you'll get out of the 6 questions of CodeVita, generally the first and second question are the ones that require more of breaking down into smaller parts and solving them, and each of these smaller parts will be easy, and joining them also will be easy. The major time will go in actually implementing all of this. So the solution is not going to be difficult per se. The solution is mostly going to be how can I divide into smaller chunks and solve the smaller problems first. So that's really the approach that I suggest all of the students to take for the first and second question in CodeVita. Now let's go back to the question. We are given n 3-digit numbers. So you're going to get an array or just one line with 3-digit numbers, and all of these 3-digit numbers are there are n such 3-digit numbers. Okay, and your task is to find the bit score of all n numbers and print the number of pairs possible based on the calculated bit score. Don't worry, we'll come back to this. So here they have given a rule on how we can calculate the bit score. We'll come back to this in just a bit, right? And then once we actually calculate all of the bit scores, what we require then to do is find out which of the bit scores can be paired together as a pair. So we have to figure out which of the bit scores can be paired together, right? Let's look at an example to understand better, right? So let me just pick up an example over here. So let's look at, for example, this one, right? So you're given this as the input. So notice that all of them are 3-digit numbers, right? And that's what was given to us. In this case, the number of inputs is 8. So we will be told that there are 8 numbers here, and these are the 8 numbers. Somehow we have calculated the bit scores. Now, just for this moment, it doesn't matter how we end up calculating the bit scores. We've somehow calculated the bit scores. Now that we have calculated the bit scores, the question is how many pairs are possible from these bit scores. So if you look at this, you might be thinking, what pairs is he talking about? Like 40 is here, 40 is here, that's one pair. But how does one figure out pairs? Well, 40 and 40 is not actually the pair, though it is over here. But the way to figure out pair is take all of the numbers at the even indexes, right? And take all of the numbers at the odd indexes. So for example, the even indexes numbers are 58, 40, or actually that's the odd indexes. If you start numbering from 1, that is what the question says. This is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3, index 4, index 5, and so on. So the question says, if I have these index numbers, if I take the odd indexes, 58, 40, 40, 19, those are the odd indexes. In these odd indexes, so let me just take those odd indexes right now. This is the odd index, right? In these odd indexes, we have to find out how many pairs are there. We can pair up the numbers if their most significant digit is the same. In this case, the most significant digit is the same is for 4, 40 and 40. Hence, we took those digits over here, right? So 40 and 40 gave us one pair, which is over here, okay? All right, so that is one way. So that is for the odd indexes. We have to do a similar exercise for the even indexes. So let's go to the even indexes. We have this 76, 11 and 18, right? So now we have 3 numbers with the same significant digit, right? So we have 3 numbers with the same significant digit, which is 12, 11 and 18, right? So there are 3 such numbers. From these, we can form 2 possible pairs. We could take 12 and 11, we could take 11 and 18, and you are right, we could also take 12 and 18. So why have they said only 2 possible pairs and why not 3 possible pairs? Well, the answer here is that they've said if more than 2 pairs are possible, then you take only 2 pairs. So at max, you can have 2 pairs only. So just summing it all up, what are the possible pairs that we can get? Pairing happens. So pairing happens. You can get 0 pairs. That's a normal case. 1 pair where you get just 1 pair, that is only 2 numbers. Only 2 numbers, right? So we have only 2 numbers with starting with significant digits same, and there is possibility of 2 pairs, but this is the case where you have greater than equal to 3 numbers, right, with significant digits same, just like we saw earlier, right? So let's say there are 4 numbers, right? Let's say there were 4 numbers at the even or the odd indexes. So let's say there were numbers, let's say these are the following bit scores: 12, 20, 13, 30, 14, 40 and 15, 50, let's say. We can find out that at the odd indexes, that is this one, this one, this one and this one, right? These are the odd indexes and they all start with 1, which is the most significant digit. So both of them start with 1 over here. If they both are starting with 1, what we are told is that we have to choose only 2 pairs at max, which means that we could form multiple pairs. In fact, if you are actually checking how many pairs are possible, you have to do 4C2, and 4C2 would be 6. So there are 6 possible pairs from here, but we have said no, 6 is the wrong answer. We actually want 2 possible pairs, because at any time where the number of pairs exceeds 2, we default to 2. So the answer basically is, if you have greater than equal to 3 numbers with significant digits same, then from those positions 2 pairs are possible, right? There's one more edge case here. Let's look at that. If this was 10 and if this was, let's say, 17. So now even at the even digits, at the even places, we have one more pair. So from the odd pairs, from the odd digits, from the odd indices, we have how many numbers possible? 4 numbers possible. And from even indices, we have 2 numbers possible, right? Which means this 4 translates to 2 pairs. This 2 translates to 1 pair. But again, for a significant digit, we can have totally only 2 pairs. So finally, we stick to 2 pairs only, right? That means for 1 as the starting index, 1 as the, not the index, 1 as the significant digit, with 1 being the significant digit, we are saying there are 2 pairs possible with number 4. There are 4 numbers possible, which means there are up to 6 pairs possible, but we say we can select only 2. There are 2 numbers possible in even indexes, which means we select 1 pair, but combined that was give us 3. Again, that combination 3 is not allowed for us. We need to get only 2 pairs. So combined, all of the pairs that we are saying for a particular significant digit has to be 2. So this is really the crucial part, that once we calculate the bit scores, how we calculate the bit scores, we'll come to that eventually. But once we have calculated the bit scores, it should be such that the pair finding happens that the significant digits, same significant digits are present at alternate indexes, that is at the odd indexes or at the even indexes. If there is only 1 such pair, counted as only 1 pair. If there is 2 such pairs, counted as only 2 pairs. If there is more than 2 pairs, we still restricted only to 2 pairs, right? When there are no pairs, obviously we take it as 0 pairs, right? So I hope you understood this pairing part, right? If you didn't, pause the video, go back again and understand the pairing part. The pairs are not happening on the original array. The pairs are happening on the bit scores array. How these bit scores are calculated, I will tell you, but assume the bit scores are calculated. If the bit scores are calculated, this is how the pairing happens, okay? So this is the question. So the question is a little bit bigger than this. What the question says is, first calculate the bit scores and then find the pairs. We have already said that how pairs happen. Let's first actually dive into how pairing, how we can actually find the pairs, right? So this is this kind of approach that we will follow. That is, we take those numbers that have the same starting digit. That is, in an array, we will take all of those bit scores which have the same starting digits, right? And they must be at even or odd indices only. So they must be at the even or the odd indexes, right? That's the important part. And then we can't take more than 2 pairs. So somewhere we have to write a code that can go through an array, find out the ones with the same significant digit, count them, but only count them such that we get at max 2 pairs, right? We should not be getting more than 2 pairs at any time. Okay, so let's see how we'll approach that problem. Again, I have not counted the bit scores. I have not calculated the bit scores. We'll come to that to the end, because I'll explain why we were doing it at the end, because that's a very simple calculation. So I'll come to that at the end, right? Now, right. So what we will do is we'll calculate the frequency of each significant digit. What do I mean by frequency? Frequency means nothing but how many times each of the significant digit has occurred, which means that in this particular example, 1 in the odd positions in the even positions has occurred 3 times. In the odd positions has occurred only 1 time, right? So that is what I'm going to calculate for 1, which means I will calculate the frequency of each significant digit, and I will calculate separately for the odd positions and separately for the even positions. This is what will allow us to actually count the pair properly, right? The counting algorithm, I'll come to it in just a bit. One interesting thing you'll note here is the significant digits. There are only 10 significant digits possible. You can have 0 as the starting digit, 1 as the starting digit, 2 as the starting digit, 3 as the starting digit, and so on up till 9. You cannot have more than that. So the easiest way of calculating the frequency of each significant digit is simply by taking a list or an array of 10 elements, with the 0th index storing how many times 0 has occurred, the first index storing how many times 1 has occurred, second index storing how many times 2 has occurred, and so on all the way up till 10, right? So you can calculate the frequency of each significant digit, and you can have 2 such frequency lists. One is for the odd positions and one is for the even positions. Now, once you have done this, what you do is, if the frequency in both odd and the even, so for example, I go back again to my example here, which is if I take a number like 6, right? Does 6 occur anywhere over here? Does 6 occur anywhere over here as a part of the significant digits? No. So the frequency of 6, that is the significant digit, that is the tens digit, the frequency of 6 is 0. If the frequency of 6 or any number is 0, then what we should do is we should just count it as 0. That is, if both odd and even, if the number occurs once or not even once, we should count it at, oh, there is no way that you can form a pair, because to count a pair, we need the number to occur more than once at the odd indexes or more than once at the even indexes. So if it occurs less than equal to 1 times, we are happy, we don't mind it at all, we take it as 0. If odd even has only 2, which means that if either odd indexes has only two numbers, or the even indexes frequency has only 2 numbers, then from the odd indexes we can take 1 pair, from the even indexes we can take 2 pair. If either of these has more than 2, then the respective count increases by 1 over there, so it becomes 2 counts. I'll just simplify this further. It means that, let's say in your odd indexes frequency, you get that the number 1 occurred 1 time. That falls in the first category. If the number 1 occurred 2 times, then for the odd indexes, we have 1 pair possible, right? Because it occurred 2 times, so 1 pair has been made possible for us, right? If it occurred 3 times in the odd indexes, then we are saying it occurred more than 2, then 2 is possible, right? That means 2 pairs are possible. If let's say it occurred 5 times, remember we said we'll cap it at 2, will not exceed 2. So even if it occurred 5 times, we are saying still only 2 pairs are possible, right? So yeah, this is a little bit of if else condition that we have to put here, but nothing that we can't handle right now. So this is how the finding pairs part works, and let me show it to you in terms of the solution on how I ended up counting the pairs, right? So I'm going to show this to you in Python because it looks a lot like pseudocode, but don't worry, it can be solved quite as easily in C++, in Java, and in C also for that matter. Although I do advise that if you are a C student, then at least try to pick up some C++ because that has some better support for difficult questions. But again, this question can be solved in Java and C++ and C just as easily. So I'm just going to show you the Python example of how I've calculated this. So I'm just open it up. So this is how it's been calculated for me. This is a new array that I've created for odd position frequencies. This is a new array I've created for even position frequencies. And this is nothing but why I have created 10 such array of size 10 is because there are only 10 digits, which means that I just put a comment over here, odd underscore position underscore frequencies of 0 will give me how many times 0 has occurred in odd positions, right? So that's what I'm going to do. This odd position frequencies of 0 will tell me that, of 1 will tell me how many times 1 has occurred in odd positions, 2 will tell me how many times 2 has occurred in all positions, all the way up to 9, right? Similarly for even position frequencies, it will tell me how many times it has occurred in the even positions. Then what I'll go is, I'll go through my bit score array, and again I have not yet gone into how to actually calculate the bit score, but assume you have a bit score array, right? So if I go through all of the elements of the bit score array, what I'm going to do is, I have stored this bit score as a string, right? I've stored it as a string, and this index, I'll tell you what this is. Index gets the most significant significant digit from the bit score. That's what it's getting, right? So the index gets the most significant digit from the bit score. This is how it's getting. Because it's a string, I just take the first character over here. I took the first character and converted it to an integer. That's all I'm doing here. If you didn't understand this, just in your language, just extract the most significant digit from the bit score. So again, to refresh your memory, just coming back over here, what we said was, depending on the bit scores, we will take the most significant numbers and count the frequency of each of them, right? We'll count it separately for the odd positions and count it separately for the even positions. So coming back, this is what we are doing. If this is the index, so if I plus 1 mod 2 equal to 0, which means if I'm at the 0th index, actually we're doing 1 based index here. So if I'm at the 0th index, I'm saying no, this is 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 mod 2, is it odd? If it's odd, then I want to increase odd frequencies. If it's even, then I want to increase the even frequencies. That's what I'm doing. This is the most significant digit. So it goes to the most significant digit and increases the frequency of that particular thing. So at the end of this, what will happen is we get the even position frequencies and the odd position frequencies for each significant digit. We got both of these things. Once we get both these things, what we are going to do is we're going to count the number of pairs possible, right? And this is the part where we'll just look into it in more detail here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the significant digits possible. There are only 10 significant digits possible, right? Because there are only 10 digits in a decimal system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate exactly the same conditions that I had written over there. Again, if you had lost track, then just pause this video, go back and see what I was trying to do. What we're trying to do here is we calculated calculated separately the frequencies for odd positions and even positions, and what we're trying to get here is if the frequency for a particular position, which means the frequency for 1 or 2, for 3 or any such significant digit is less than equal to 1, if it's less than equal to 1, then we make it as 0. So if this is equal to 1 and for the odd position frequency is also less than equal to 1, then we just say continue, which is nothing but a fancy way of saying that, you know, don't go ahead further in this loop because we already initialized the pairs to be 0 for that particular significant digit. However, if even one of them has more than one frequency, then we'll go into that, right? And the way we'll go into that is we'll take the even position frequencies, right? We'll try to see how many pairs are possible from that. This is the function I have written separately. We'll see the odd position frequencies and we'll see how many pairs are possible from that, right? And then what we'll do is we'll add both of these. If the addition of this causes a value to go above 2, we'll say no, choose 2. That is, choose the minimum of either 2 or the counting pairs, whatever we've got over here, right? So let's say if the position says that, oh, there are 6 pairs possible between both of them. You know, we said we will cap it at 2. So choose the minimum of 2 and 6 and that will be 2. So always we'll choose whatever is the minimum. If let's say only one pair is possible, we'll say only, okay, one pair is possible. If more than 2 pairs are possible, we will always default to 2 over here. That is what this is doing. Now, the important thing here is how do we get these pairs? That is, if we have a certain frequencies, how do we end up getting the pair? So I'll just show that function to you. So that function is like this. If there are two numbers that we have, then we're saying only one pair is possible. If 3 numbers are there, we say 2 pairs are possible. If neither 2 nor 3 is there, which means that, when 3 or greater is there, then we say 2 is possible. If it's neither of these, it means it's less than 2, we say 0 pairs are possible. So that is what it will return. Depending on the frequencies, it will say how many pairs are possible. We add those pairs and take the minimum of that and 2, right? And then what we'll do is we'll take the sum of all of the pairs possible and we'll print them. So that's what we've done over here. Take the sum of all of the pairs possible and print them. So yeah, just going through it once again, we had the bit score array. We calculated at the even position what all the frequencies for this significant digit at the even position, the frequency for this significant digit at the odd position. We'll see how many pairs are possible for that significant digits using this pairs from function, which is very simple. We just discussed it. And finally, we'll say that, you know what, we don't want all of the possible the pairs. We want either the pair or 2, like whichever is lesser. So hence we took this minimum over here. Finally, we'll sum all of the pairs possible and we'll print that, right? That is what we are doing. Obviously, I've left one very key important part, which is calculating the bit scores. That is the important part I've left. So again, just going back to the question, if you remember, this is what we were talking about. We have to calculate bit score and find pairs. We have explored how you can find the pairs given the bit scores. So given the bit scores, we are able to find the pairs. How does one calculate the bit scores though? I've left this purposely for the end because it's pretty simple. I didn't want you to get lost in this. I wanted to explain the difficult part first. So the bit scores are calculated very simply. For each number, what we can do is we are supposed to take the largest digit and the smallest digit. You multiply the largest digit by 11 and you multiply the smallest digit by 7 and add both of them, right? So you take the largest digit, which is 11, take the smallest digit 7 largest digit 8, smallest digit is 2. Multiply largest digit by 11, smallest digit by 7, and add them, and you ignore the most significant bit. So the bit score becomes 102, right? Bit score becomes 02, which basically means that if you don't always ignore the 1, you ignore it. Let me just go to the actual rule. Extract the largest digit, multiply by 11, extract smallest digit, multiply by 7, add both result for getting the bit pairs. Bit score should be of 2 digits only. If above results in a 3-digit bit score, simply ignore the most significant digit, which means you take I'll show you the formula that the way I had calculated, right? So if you want to calculate the bit score, the way you'll calculate it is, one second, find the largest digit, let's call this A, find the smallest digit, let's call it B, take 11A into 7B. So this is the largest digit in the given number, right? And the smallest digit in the given number. Do 11A plus 7B and take only the last two digits, that is you ignore the most significant digit out of this. So you ignore the most significant digit and you take only the largest digit over here, right? And really what is the maximum number possible here anyways? You have 11 into 9 99 plus 7 into 9 63, assuming that like the smallest and the largest digit is both 9. You can't get a smaller or larger digit than that. So you'll get 11 into 9 99 plus 7 into 9 63, which is 162, right? So you're not going to get a number higher than 162. So it's always going to be a maximum to maximum, you're going to get a 3-digit bit score. Now, but it said that you should always take the last two digits, even if you get a number, let's say the bit score is something like 102, as we saw. We still take 02, that is 0 is still counted as a significant digit over here, right? So we take, for 102 we take 02 and we count 0 as a significant digit, right? So keep that in mind with you. Now how will we go about calculating this? How do we find the largest digit? Multiple ways. I think this is something simple that you could all calculate, but let me show you one way I calculated. So one of the ways I calculated was, I ran a loop from 9 to 0 and check if it exists in the number. Because I started from 9, if let's say 9 exists in the number, then 9 has to be the largest number. There can't be a number larger than 9. I didn't get 9, I go to 8. Does 8 exist? Does 7 exist? Does 6 exist? The moment we find that a number exists, we say that, oh, this is the largest number possible, choose it, right? Similarly, for the smallest digit, we go ascending order. That is, I start from 0. Does 0 exist in this number? If it does, okay, great, that is the smallest digit I have. Otherwise, does 1 exist in this number? Okay, great, 1 is the smallest digit, and so on. So this way you will be able to quickly find out if the largest or the smallest digit exists. The way I did this was, I converted the number into a string and then checked if this exists or not, right? Finally, take the bit scores and then take only the last two digits. Let's have a look again at the code for this particular part. Again, in Python it's simple. It's also simple in the other languages. Simply I'll just show you how we have done it. There are multiple ways to solve this problem, so you could do it in those ways also. So the first line is input. So this is pretty standard. I'm going to skip this part because that's how you take input over here. If you don't know how to take input, you can in the free module we have a lot of. So if I go here, yeah. So in the free, this is the free module, both in introduction and taking input, we explain extensively how you can take input, especially in the format that CodeVita likes to take, right? So, okay, let's go ahead with this. So I am getting here, this is a new string array that I have created for bit scores. So this is a string array of bit scores. And what we're trying to do here is, like, trying to calculate the score. So this is 11 into the largest number. So this largest is a function that I have written. Find the largest number in this particular number, find the smallest number in this particular number. Nums of I is the number at that particular index, because remember we got an array of numbers. So convert this entire thing into a string, and what we see is if the length of the string is greater than 2, which means if we have 3 numbers, then what we do is take the last 2 digits of the string. So take the last 2 elements of the string and we store this current score as the bit score over here. And then we go ahead and calculate the frequencies, which we saw at the start of the session. So this is a very simple way of calculating the frequencies, calculating the bit scores. How do we find the largest number and the smallest number in the given number? Again, I made a small function over here. So if you go back to the functions, this is exactly what I was saying. This is the largest number. Convert the number to a string. Start from 9. And try to see if a number exists or not. So for example, does 9 exist? If it exists, return it. That's it. Otherwise, if 8 exists, return 8. If 7 exists, return it, and so on. So this is what the loop is doing right now. Similarly for 7, for 6, for 5, and so on. Similarly, a smallest function as well. So this function here starts a loop from 0, goes all the way up to 9, and finds out if that number exists. If it exists, just return it, and that is our number. Otherwise, keep increasing the count, the digits, and eventually you'll reach up to 9. One of these has to exist because it is a number. One of these digits has to exist. So that's how we created the bit scores, and then that's how we can go about solving this question, right? So just to recap, what we have done here is calculated the bit scores. We just saw that, finding the pairs, we saw that, and then finally take the sum of the counts of each digit and then print the sum. So that we saw in just when the finding pairs part, right? And so this is also done. Again, we took the sum function in Python. In your language that might not be there. Let's simply find the sum of the entire array. It's a simple for loop. You can do that. One thing I want you all to focus on is how we approach the problem. So we approach the problem by dividing into two parts, and each of those two parts I divided further into functions, so that if I have a problem, I can quickly go and check what's wrong with the function. Try to divide your code into these small functions so that those functions do the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to worry about. Otherwise, imagine finding the largest digit is not difficult, but already you have a for loop. Inside that for loop, again you place that largest number logic. The code gets messed up. You are bound to do certain mistakes. If I extract away that largest number logic, if I extract that smallest number logic, if I extract the forming the pairs logic away from this, right, then what happens? Then I can quickly look at my code and say, okay, is there a problem in finding pairs? I can go and solve the finding pairs function over there. So that's what what we are trying to do over here is to show you that you can really divide it into smaller and smaller parts, and that's generally the first and second question of CodeVita. You should try to divide it into smaller and smaller parts, and then you will be able to solve the question properly. So yeah, just a reminder to all of you that you also can avail this course and try to solve this problem. Actually, just one second. Let me tell you what happens if we run this particular code. So if we do run this code, now that we've seen all of it, if we run it, the test cases pass, and if I submit it, then yep, the code actually passes, right? So yeah, just a reminder to all of you, if you want to try out, I know I've shown only some part of the solution. I want you to go ahead and solve the solution fully. If you're not able to solve it, we have certain mentors to help you during that. I am online sometimes. You can ask me directly. So yeah, that we have that ecosystem for you. So mentor support is there. Right now is the best time to get started on the CodeVita course. So you can log in on this link that's given here. Or if you have certain doubts or questions about it, you can always email us at team@rededis.com. That's the email given here, team@rededis.com, or WhatsApp us on the number given below, and we'll be happy to help you out with any queries that you have. So yeah, stay tuned to this channel. Just one more thing that I want to tell you all, please like this video so that more people come to know about it. Share this video with your friends so that they also get benefited. Subscribe to this channel so that you get the further notifications about these videos. We are going to do a lot more CodeVita videos. Many more are going to be on the platform, but we are going to keep releasing certain free videos. So do subscribe to this channel. I know a lot of you are going to ask about Hack with Infi round 2. That is also coming up. So really just keep subscribed to this channel, and we are reading all of your comments. Don't worry, we are going to launch videos on Hack with Infi round 2. I know that's a popular demand, so we'll do that. But for now, focus on these CodeVita questions. Log into the Redis platform and try it out yourself. Wishing you guys all the best. Thank you.